Commander Yunji stood in the center of the Alliance Council chamber, watching the emergency hologram display 3 burning worlds. The images flickered and sparked as communication arrays died one by one. In 300 years of galactic peace, nothing like this had ever happened. The Zephyrian Collective had somehow launched a coordinated attack on 3 separate star systems at exactly the same time. "This should not be possible," whispered Counselor Velthron, his tentacles writhing with anxiety. "Our defensive shields were designed to stop any known weapon." Yunji studied the tactical data streaming across her personal display. The attacks had begun precisely at Oro 300 Galactic Standard Time. The enemy weapons had phased right through Alliance shields as if they did not exist. Every defensive protocol had failed completely. "War Prime Kethvar requests immediate audience," announced the chamber's artificial intelligence system. The massive doors hissed open with a sound like escaping steam. The Veltar military leader filled the doorway. His species stood nearly 3 meters tall with 4 powerful arms and natural armor that looked like black metal. Scars from countless battles marked his chitinous plates. When he moved, it was with the deadly grace of a born predator. "The attack came from within our own alliance," Kethvar said. His translator device turned his clicking speech into standard galactic language. "Someone gave the Zephyrians our shield frequencies and defensive codes." Jin Wu, the human military attaché, pulled up classified files on the main display. His fingers moved quickly across the holographic interface. "These are the voting records from last cycle. 17 Alliance species voted to restrict human technological development. They said we were advancing too quickly." Yunji felt her stomach drop as she read the documents. The evidence was clear and damning. The ministerial caste, the Alliance's governing body, had been secretly meeting with Zephyrian representatives for months. They had shared detailed intelligence about human research projects and military capabilities. They believed that humanity's rapid progress threatened galactic stability, Jinwu continued. The vote failed, but apparently some species decided to take matters into their own hands. On the display, another world went dark. The 4th attack in 6 hours. Alliance fleets were burning while politicians argued about proper procedures and diplomatic protocols. Kethvar's forearms moved in what Yunji recognized as a gesture of disgust among his people. "My war clans have fought and died for this alliance for generations. We will not serve those who betray their own pack members." The other counselors began talking at once, their voices rising in panic. Some demanded immediate military action, others called for diplomatic negotiations. A few suggested surrendering to save what remained of their worlds. Yunji watched the chaos with growing understanding. The alliance they had served faithfully was already dead. It had died the moment member species chose to collaborate with an enemy rather than accept change. The institutions they trusted had been corrupted from within. "The Zephyrians are not done," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "This is just the beginning. They want to conquer everything, and our former allies just gave them the keys to our defenses." Kethvar stepped closer to the human delegation. His red eyes met Yunji's gaze directly. In Veltar culture, this was either a challenge to combat or an offer of alliance. There was no middle ground. "My people understand pack loyalty," he said. "When pack members prove themselves traitors, they are cast out. The alliance betrayed both our species, now we must choose our own path." The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what the War Prime was suggesting. It was unthinkable by alliance law. No member species had ever withdrawn from the collective government. The penalties for such action included complete economic isolation and military intervention. But the alliance was crumbling anyway. The ministerial caste had made their choice when they decided humans were too dangerous to trust. Now humanity and the Veltar faced the same enemy from 2 directions, the Zephyrian Collective from outside, and their former allies from within. Yunji looked at her fellow humans. Jinwu nodded slightly. Dr. Mi Sun, their chief scientist, gave a quick gesture of agreement. They all understood that staying would mean slow destruction as the Alliance's bureaucracy strangled any effective response. "What do you propose?" Yunji asked. We hunt together, Kethavar replied. My war clans and your starfleets. We forget the old rules and make new ones. We protect what can be saved and destroy what threatens us. It was a complete break from everything the Alliance represented. 3 centuries of careful diplomacy and interspecies cooperation would end. But it might be the only way to survive what was coming. Yunji stood and faced the War Prime directly. Then we hunt together. The words seemed to echo in the chamber. Around them, other counselors stared in shock at what they had just witnessed. The Alliance might continue to exist in name, but its 2 most powerful military forces had just declared independence. As alarms began sounding throughout the station, Yunji realized there was no going back. They had chosen survival over law, cooperation over hierarchy. Whether that choice would save them or doom them remained to be seen. Captain Taemin stood on the bridge of his ship, the Soul's Pride, watching Veltar warships move into formation beside the human fleet. 2 weeks had passed since the Alliance collapsed, and every joint mission felt like walking through a minefield. The 2 species could barely understand each other, let alone fight together. Sir, the Veltar assault teams are asking permission to board the enemy ships, reported Lieutenant Hana from her communication station. They don't understand why we want to capture the vessels instead of destroying them. Through the main viewing screen, Taemin watched a massive Veltar dreadnought tear through a group of Zephyrian fighters. The alien ship moved like a wild animal, all claws and teeth. It was incredibly effective at killing, but it wasted resources and left nothing useful behind. Tell them we need the enemy technology intact, Taemin said with a sigh. We can't learn their weaknesses if we blow everything to pieces. The Veltar response came back quickly. War Leader Thexen's voice crackled through the translator. Humans think too much. Dead enemies cannot hurt you. Why complicate simple things? This was the problem they faced every day. Humans planned and analyzed everything. They wanted to understand their enemies before fighting them. The Veltar were natural hunters who trusted their instincts. They saw a threat and eliminated it immediately. Both approaches worked, but they did not work well together. Down in the research laboratories, Dr. Mi-sun was having her own struggles with cooperation. She stared at the fragments of Zephyrian weapons spread across her workbench. For days she had been trying to understand how the enemy's phase technology worked. The weapons could pass through solid matter like it was empty space. The quantum frequency patterns make no sense, she muttered, adjusting her analysis equipment for the 100th time. The energy signature should be impossible to maintain. The laboratory door hissed open, and Thexran entered. The Veltar bioengineer was smaller than the warriors, but still towered over Mi-sun. His 4 arms carried various biological samples from his own ship. Human scientist struggles with dead metal, Thexran observed. Perhaps living energy provides answers. Mi-sun looked up from her work. Living energy, what do you mean? Thexran placed a small device on the workbench. It pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to come from within the material itself. Veltar technology uses bioelectricity. Our bodies generate power. Our ships channel our life force. That's fascinating, but I don't see how it helps with the phase weapons, Mi-sun said. Watch, Thexran replied. He held his hand near the Zephyrian weapon fragment. Immediately, the alien metal began to shimmer and lose its solid appearance. Your quantum frequencies, our biological energy. Together, they disrupt the phase effect. Isun's eyes widened as she understood. The weapons work by shifting between quantum states, but biological energy creates interference in that process. You're saying we need both human physics and Veltar biotechnology to counter them? Neither. Species alone can stop these weapons, Thexran confirmed, but together we make them useless. Meanwhile, on the colony world of New Busan, a very different kind of cooperation was taking place. Engineer Wu Jin worked alongside Veltar construction, teams to build emergency shelters. Human evacuees and Veltar cubs had been mixed together when the transport ships arrived, and now they all needed protection from incoming Zephyrian forces. The barrier wall needs to be 3 meters high, Wu Jin explained to Kevtor, the Veltar work supervisor. Our children are smaller, but your cubs can jump much higher. Kevtor clicked his mandibles, and what Wujin had learned was amusement. Human children are soft. They need metal and concrete for protection. Veltar cubs need only pack and claws. Despite their differences, they work together effectively. Human engineering knowledge combined with Veltar physical strength produced fortifications that neither species could have built alone. More importantly, their children were playing together in the shelters, sharing food and toys despite not speaking the same language. When the Zephyrian attack came 3 days later, something remarkable happened. The human defenders used their long-range sensors and tactical computers to track enemy movements. They transmitted this information to Veltar warriors, who used their natural speed and combat instincts to strike at exactly the right moment. Captain Tae Min coordinated the Yi space battle while war leader Thexan led ground forces. For the first time, their different fighting styles worked together instead of against each other. Human precision guided Veltar aggression. Veltar courage enabled human strategies that would have been impossible with their own troops. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Zephyrian force had been completely destroyed. Not a single enemy soldier escaped. More importantly, both human and Veltar casualties were surprisingly light. Your planning saved many warriors, Thexan told Tae Min after the fighting ended. Your warriors made the impossible possible, Tae Min replied. My plans would have failed without your people's courage. In the medical stations, human doctors worked beside Veltar healers to treat the wounded. They shared techniques and knowledge, learning that their different approaches to medicine could help patients that neither could save alone. Dr. Mi-sun's breakthrough with the hybrid weapons came just as the victory was being celebrated. Her first prototype pulse cannon could punch through Zephyrian phase shields by combining human-focusing technology with Veltar bioelectrical energy. But their success had not gone unnoticed. Reports were already reaching the Old Alliance Council about the unauthorized cooperation between humans and Veltar. Soon, they would face enemies from 2 directions. The victory at New Busan became a legend that spread through both human and Veltar territories. Captain Tae Min and war leader Thexan had proven that their species could fight as one force instead of 2 separate armies. The stories grew with each telling, but the truth was impressive enough. They had destroyed an enemy force 3 times, their size without losing a single ship. Dr. Mi-sun worked day and night in her expanded laboratory, now shared with Veltar bioengineers. Her hybrid weapon project had produced the first working prototype, but she needed to make hundreds of them quickly. The bioelectric pulse cannons could punch through Zephyrian shields, but each one required careful calibration between human technology and Veltar biology. The energy flow must be perfectly balanced, explained Thexran as he connected another bioconduit to the weapon housing. Too much human precision and the living energy dies. Too much Veltar power and your focusing crystals shatter. Mi-sun nodded, making notes on her tablet. It's like conducting an orchestra where half the musicians are playing by instinct and half are reading sheet music. We need both, but they have to work together perfectly. The first field test of the new weapons took place during a Zephyrian raid on the mining colony of Kepler Station. The enemy arrived expecting another easy victory against outdated Alliance defenses. Instead, they found joint human Veltar forces armed with weapons that made their phase technology useless. Target the lead cruiser, Tae Min ordered from his command chair. All hybrid cannons synchronized fire. The bioelectric pulse hit the Zephyrian ship like a hammer blow. The alien vessel's phase shields flickered and died, leaving it vulnerable to conventional weapons. Within minutes, the entire enemy squadron was destroyed or retreating. But their success brought unwanted attention from an unexpected source. Alliance Council representatives arrived at New Busan 3 days after the Kepler Station victory. They came aboard the Soul's Pride in full diplomatic regalia, expecting to reassert authority over both species. This unauthorized cooperation must end immediately, declared Councillor Marinth, speaking for the surviving Alliance leadership. Both humanity and the Veltar will return to proper Alliance command structure and accept oversight from designated supervisory species. Commander Yoon-ji stood beside War Prime Kethvar in the main conference room. The two leaders had grown to respect each other over the past month. Their species had learned to work together through necessity, but now they faced a choice that would define their future. The Alliance failed to protect its own members, Yunji replied calmly. Your supervision allowed the Zephyrians to obtain our defensive codes. Why should we trust you now? Because the alternative is being declared rogue states, Counselor, Marinth said coldly. That means complete isolation, economic sanctions, and possible military intervention to restore order. Kethvar's forearms moved in the Veltar gesture of contempt. You threaten us for defending ourselves against enemies you helped create. This proves the Alliance is already dead. The meeting ended badly, with Alliance representatives storming out and promising consequences. But their threats only strengthened the bond between humans and Veltar. Both species realized they had no choice but to forge ahead together. Engineer Shin led the next breakthrough in cooperation. His team was designing the first truly integrated colony ships where human families and Veltar clans would live together, as one community. The technical challenges were enormous, but the potential benefits made the effort worthwhile. Human children need consistent temperature and humidity, Shin explained to his mixed design team. Veltar cubs require varying environmental conditions for proper development. We need living spaces that can adapt to both. The solution came from combining human engineering with Veltar biological systems. The ships would have organic components that could adjust their internal environment automatically. Different sections would provide optimal conditions for each species while maintaining common areas where both could interact comfortably. Dr. Misun's weapons program expanded into a full research partnership. Human scientists worked beside Veltar bioengineers to develop new technologies that neither species could create alone. The hybrid approach produced innovations that surprised everyone involved. We're not just building better weapons, Misun told Yunji during their weekly progress meeting. We're learning to think differently. Human logic combined with Veltar instinct creates solutions neither of us would find alone. The partnership faced its biggest test when Alliance forces arrived to enforce the Council's authority. 3 Alliance battle groups took position around New Busan, demanding the immediate surrender of both human and Veltar leaders. You have 24 hours to comply, transmitted Alliance Admiral Korvash. After that, we will use force to restore proper order. Commander Yunji and War Prime Kethvar stood together on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching the Alliance ships. On their tactical display, they were outnumbered 4-1, but they had advantages the enemy did not expect. We could surrender and hope for mercy, Yunji said quietly. Or we could show them what cooperation really means, Kethvar replied. The decision was made without words. Both leaders understood that backing down now would end everything they had built. Their species had learned to work together, to combine their strengths and cover each other's weaknesses. They would not return to the old ways of separation and hierarchy. Send a message to all Alliance forces, Yunji ordered. Tell them we're forming a new government based on merit and mutual defense, not species hierarchy. Anyone who wants to join us is welcome. Anyone who tries to stop us will face the consequences. The message sent shockwaves through the galaxy, as other oppressed species began questioning their own positions in the Alliance structure. The revolution had begun. The human-Veltar coalition grew faster than anyone expected. Refugee ships arrived daily from worlds destroyed by the Zephyrian attacks or abandoned by the failing Alliance. These people had nowhere else to go, and they found something in the coalition that the old Alliance never offered, a chance to succeed based on ability rather than which species they belonged to. Engineer Kexton was one of the first examples of how different things could be. The young Veltar had brilliant ideas about ship design, but in the old Alliance system, his species was only allowed to serve in military roles. Now he worked directly under Dr. Ji Young, a human supervisor who valued his creative thinking. Together, they designed faster and more efficient spacecraft than either species had built before. Your bio-integration concepts are revolutionary, Ji Young told him as they reviewed the latest prototype designs. We never thought about making ships that could grow and adapt like living creatures. "And your mathematical precision gives form to our instincts," Kexthon replied. "Veltar know what feels right, but humans know how to measure and improve it." The same cooperation happened throughout the Coalition territories. Human soldiers trained under Veltar combat masters, learning fighting techniques that had been perfected over thousands of years. Veltar technicians studied human engineering methods, discovering how careful planning could make their natural abilities even more effective. Dr. Mi-sun led the most ambitious project yet attempted, terraforming entire worlds to support multiple species at the same time. Previous Alliance colonies had always been designed for one primary species, with other races forced to live in artificial environments. The Coalition's approach was completely different. "We're not just changing the atmosphere," Mi-sun explained to the terraforming team. "We're creating living worlds that can adapt to the needs of any species that settles there." The process combined human atmospheric processing technology with Veltar biological adaptation techniques. Instead of forcing worlds to match existing needs, they created planets that could slowly adjust their environments as new species arrived. The first test world, New Harmony, successfully supported human, Veltar, and 3 other refugee species within 6 months. But their success attracted the attention of their enemies. Coalition intelligence teams intercepted Zephyrian communications that revealed something terrifying. The enemy was building a superweapon, a stellar destabilizer, that could destroy entire star systems by making their suns explode. "The weapon is almost complete," reported Intelligence Chief Hana during an emergency briefing. "According to these intercepted plans, it can target any star within 50 light-years of its position." Commander Eun-ji studied the technical specifications with growing horror. The device worked by destabilizing the nuclear fusion process that kept stars burning. Once activated, it would cause a chain reaction that would destroy everything in the target system within hours. "The old alliance doesn't have the unity to mount an effective response," War Prime Kethvar observed. "They're still arguing about proper procedures while the Zephyrians prepare to eliminate entire civilizations. And we don't have enough ships for a direct assault," added Captain Tae-min. "Their main battle fleet would destroy us before we got close to the weapon." The Coalition faced an impossible choice. They could try a conventional attack and certainly fail, or they could do nothing and watch billions of innocent beings die when the weapon was activated. But Kethvar had a third option, something from ancient Veltar tradition that had never been attempted on such a scale. "The Great Hunt," he explained to the assembled Coalition leaders. "Instead of fighting their entire fleet, we send small teams deep into enemy territory. Each team targets critical infrastructure, supply lines, and communication networks. We blind them and cripple them before striking at the heart of their power." It was a strategy that played perfectly to both species' strengths. Humans excelled at planning complex operations and adapting to unexpected situations. Veltar were natural hunters who could infiltrate enemy territory and strike without warning. Together they could accomplish what neither could do alone. Captain Min-jun volunteered to lead the training program for the infiltration teams. He had experience with both human special operations and Veltar hunting techniques, making him the perfect choice to prepare mixed teams for the mission. "This isn't like any mission either of our species has attempted before," he told the volunteers during their first briefing. "You'll be operating in small groups, far from support, behind enemy lines for weeks or months. You'll need to trust each other completely." The training was brutal. Human commandos learned to move with the silent grace of Veltar hunters. Veltar warriors practiced the patience and precision that human operations required. Most importantly, they learned to think as one unit instead of 2 different species working together. Dr. Mi-sun's team developed specialized equipment for the mission. Each team would carry hybrid weapons that combined the best of both technologies. They also received bioadaptive suits that could adjust to different environments automatically, allowing them to operate on any world the Zephyrians controlled. 50 teams were ready within 2 months. Each consisted of 3 humans and 2 Veltar, chosen for complementary skills rather than rank or experience. The youngest volunteer was barely 20 years old. The oldest was a Veltar veteran with over a century of combat experience. All of them understood that failure meant not just their own deaths, but the extinction of every free world in the galaxy. "We hunt as one pack," Kethavar told them before departure. "We succeed together, or we die together. There is no other option." The fate of billions rested on their success. The 50 strike teams launched from hidden bases across Coalition space, each heading toward different targets in Zephyrian territory. They traveled in small, fast ships designed to avoid detection, using routes that would take weeks to complete. The coordination required was incredible. Every team had to reach their target at exactly the same time for the plan to work. Commander Yunji led Team Alpha toward the most dangerous target of all, the stellar destabilizer facility itself. The massive weapon platform orbited a dead world deep in enemy space, protected by 3 defensive fleets and countless automated defenses. Getting close would be nearly impossible. Getting inside would be suicide for anyone attempting it alone. "Zephyrian patrol ships detected on long-range sensors," reported Veltar Hunter Kesserin from the navigation station. "They're following standard search patterns. We can slip past them if we time our approach correctly." "Do it," Yunji ordered. "We need to reach the facility before the other teams begin their attacks." Captain Taemin coordinated the supporting strikes from his mobile command ship. His job was to ensure that all 50 teams hit their targets within a 30-minute window. The enemy's communication network had to be crippled before they could respond to the main assault. "Team 7 reports successful infiltration of the supply depot on Zerion Prime," he announced over the encrypted channel. "Team 15 is in position at the fleet staging area. All teams are ready for synchronized attack." The first phase began exactly at midnight, Zephyrian time. Across their entire empire, critical infrastructure began exploding simultaneously. Communication relays went offline, supply convoys disappeared, military bases found their defense systems mysteriously failing. The Zephyrians suddenly found themselves blind and confused, unable to coordinate their forces. Dr. Misun worked frantically inside the stellar destabilizer facility, while Veltar warriors held the entrance against waves of enemy soldiers. The weapon was far more complex than their intelligence had suggested. It wasn't just a single device, it was an entire network of interconnected systems spread throughout the massive station. "The targeting array is on level 7, she called out over the sound of weapons fire. "The power core is on level 12. We need to disable both systems simultaneously, or the weapon will activate automatically." Engineer Wu Jin volunteered. For the most dangerous part of the mission, someone had to manually access the power core and trigger an overload that would destroy the entire facility. The problem was that the overload would take several minutes to complete, and whoever started, it would not have time to escape. "I'll do it," he said simply. "My family died when the Zephyrians destroyed New Sol. This is for them." The battle raged through the station's corridors as coalition forces fought their way deeper into the facility. Human technical specialists worked to understand the weapons control systems, while Veltar warriors carved through enemy defenses with unprecedented fury. The two species moved together like parts of a single organism, each anticipating what the others needed. War Prime Kethvar found himself face-to-face with the Zephyrian Supreme Commander in the station's central command center. The enemy leader was massive, even larger than a Veltar warrior, with natural armor that seemed to absorb energy weapon blasts. "Your pathetic alliance dies today," the Supreme Commander hissed. "When this weapon activates, every world that defied us will burn." "The alliance is already dead," Kethvar replied, drawing his combat claws. "We are something new, something you cannot understand." The two leaders fought with savage intensity while the battle for the facility continued around them. The Supreme Commander was strong and experienced, but Kethvar fought with the fury of someone protecting his pack. The duel lasted nearly an hour before the War Prime finally landed the killing blow. Meanwhile, Dr. Misun discovered the true scope of the Zephyrian conspiracy. The weapon facility contained detailed records showing decades of preparation for galactic conquest. The corrupt Alliance officials had not just provided intelligence, they had actively helped design the stellar destabilizer, believing they would be rewarded with positions of power in the new Zephyrian Empire. They planned this from the beginning, she transmitted to the Coalition command. The Alliance was never meant to survive. It was always intended to be a stepping stone to total domination. Wu Jin reached the power core as enemy reinforcements closed in on his position. The massive reactor hummed with deadly energy, its controls protected by multiple security systems. He worked quickly, using everything he had learned about both human and Veltar technology to bypass the safeguards. Overload sequence initiated, he reported calmly. 7 minutes until core breach. All teams need to evacuate immediately. Wu Jin, get out of there. Yunji's voice crackled over the communication system. Negative, Commander. Someone needs to make sure the overload completes successfully. The Zephyrians might try to abort the sequence. His voice remained steady despite the danger. Tell my daughter that her father died hunting with the pack. The evacuation was chaos. Coalition forces fought running battles through the station's corridors, while automated systems tried to contain the spreading power failures. Some teams made it to their ships. Others had to be rescued by Veltar warriors who refused to leave anyone behind. The stellar destabilizer exploded in a flash of light visible from 3 star systems away. The weapon that could have destroyed billions of lives became nothing but expanding plasma and debris. More importantly, the victory proved something revolutionary to the watching galaxy. When different species combined their unique strengths instead of competing for dominance, they became stronger than anyone thought possible. The Coalition's success inspired revolts across the former Alliance territories as oppressed races rose up against their bureaucratic overlords.